everybody, my name's Natalie and I work for Via Rail Canada here in the UK. Today I'm just going to tell you a little bit about some of our trains, give you a basic overview, but if you do have any questions, my details are at the end and you can email me and I'm happy to answer anything. So who are Via Rail? Via Rail is the public national rail service for Canada and we operate from east to west coast and as far north as Hudson Bay. We cover the entire country and we are very much the rail company for the entire network. So Canadians users, and it just so happens that tourists who travel to Canada also use our services. So you can see from the map that you can travel all the way from Halifax to either Vancouver or Prince Rupert on the west coast and up to Churchill on Hudson Bay. We do have a bigger version of this map online, so you're welcome to download it if you want to. So we run over 12,500 kilometres of track. We serve communities, small communities, some as small as 2 people. We serve over 450 communities across the country. Our trains run year-round and they run whatever the weather. We generally will only stop, for example, if we have an avalanche, not for snow. We're much better than the services in this country. We are very much a public service and your customers will meet Canadians on board as well as tourists. So today I'm going to talk to you about some of the probably less well-known train journeys. I did a webinar on the Canadian, which is the Vancouver to Toronto route, probably about 18 months ago. So now I'm just going to concentrate on some of the less well-known journeys. So I've done it from East Coast to West Coast to keep it simple. So the ocean. The ocean travels from Montreal right round to Halifax. So you start in Montreal or in Halifax, whichever way you want to go, and you travel through New Brunswick and then into Nova Scotia. The train operates 3 times per week in each direction. It departs Montreal at approximately 6 o'clock in the evening and arrives into Halifax at about 5:30 the following afternoon. And if you're going in the opposite direction, it departs Halifax at lunchtime and arrives into Montreal at 9:30 the following morning. The journey is approximately 22 hours, taking into account the time difference, and there's 2 different classes on board. We have economy class and we have sleeper plus. The majority of people who will be travelling from the UK will be sleeper plus, which means you have a bedroom on board. If you travel economy class, the only time we generally get people from the UK travelling in economy class is if they're doing a very small section of the journey, for example, just Halifax in Nova Scotia to Moncton in New Brunswick. So this is an image of the ocean train going just as it comes into New Brunswick from the St. Lawrence River. You can see the observation car on the second car from the left-hand side. And this is another view of the train as well. So as I said, economy class is just a seat. You have a picture window. There is no advanced seat assignment. And you can buy meals and refreshments on board. There is there's normally a little shop that you can go to buy your meals on board. The normal configuration for the seats on this train is on one side you have double seats, on the other side you have single seats. And this is the lounge car that is for economy class passengers, and you can see the small little window at the very back of the carriage is where you can go buy sandwiches. They do things like pizza or burger, and they sell all kinds of drinks including alcohol, and the prices are reasonable for where you are. Considering you're trapped on the train, they are fairly reasonable. So this is the dining car on board. You can, if you're in economy class, use the dining car, although priority is given to sleeper class passengers. But to be honest, most people I know that have travelled on economy class either take something with them or buy something just from the snack bar. So the accommodation on board. So the accommodation is when you travel in plus. Sleeper plus generally means on this train that you have a bedroom on board. So this is an example of a standard bedroom. So you have a seating area during the daytime. You also have your own toilet. You have a very small cupboard to hang a few items up, and you can put your small suitcase underneath the bed. You just take on board the amount that you need for the one-night journey. Everything else is checked into a luggage car and you pick it up like you do at an airport once you get off the train. Some of our bedrooms are deluxe bedrooms, and what makes them deluxe is they have a shower in each cabin. The shower is just an overhead shower head which you basically hold it and shower, so everything inside the bathroom gets wet. Some people insist on having a shower in their room, and this is a good selling point for those. Most people, because it's only one night, won't really be that bothered. So at night time it's converted to an upper and a lower bed, so when your customers go to dinner, their cabin attendant will come in and convert it to an upper and a lower bed, and there's obviously a ladder to get up to the top level. So as I've previously said, the deluxe bedrooms have the showers, and in the daytime it's a private sitting area, and the night time it is 2 beds. You also have your own picture window, and then once you come out the door there's just a very small corridor as well. That's another image, so that's if you were going to have the bedroom as a bedroom for one. And this is one train where we don't actually have single bedrooms on board, so there is a small single supplement for booking a bedroom for just one person. It's usually about 25% of the cost, but it's nowhere near as much as any other, like a hotel room or anything like that. So Sleeper Plus is now available all year round. You have access to the park car, which is the lounge car at the very back of the train. That includes the Bullet Lounge, which is the very end of the train, the Mural Lounge, which also has a bar, and the Dome Observation Car, which you just go up some steps to get to, so you can see everything around you. You get all your meals included, so on each journey you'll have a breakfast, lunch and a dinner, depending on which way you go, will depend which order you have them. For breakfast there's normally 4 or 5 choices, for lunch there's usually 3 choices, and for dinner there's usually 3 or 4 choices as well. You get all tea and coffee included. The only extra cost for drinks are anything branded, so for example if you want a Coke or an orange juice, or if you want alcohol, that is extra. We also have games and newspapers and magazines, and occasionally they do show videos in the park car as well. So this is an example of the park car. So the very back area that we're standing in, if you're looking at the picture, that's the Bullet Lounge. If you go up those stairs, that's the Dome Car observation area, and if you go down the corridor to the left-hand side, that takes you to the Mural Lounge. As you can see, there's tea and coffee available all day long, and they usually have biscuits or something similar there as well. Mid-June to mid-September we have what's called the Maritime Experience Programme on board. So that's where we have staff members that come and tell your customers everything about the areas they're going through. They'll tell you stories, they'll do local wine tasting, they'll do local cheese tasting, beer tasting, and they'll generally come around a few hours before and say at 5 o'clock we're going to do a beer tasting, and they'll be able to totally free of charge, and you can enjoy some wine and cheese, and they'll tell you really interesting stories about where you're going through. So that's everything about the ocean. So we're actually going to move straight over to the very west coast now, on a train called the Skeena train. It's now officially called the Jasper to Prince Rupert train, but majority of people know it as the Skeena train because that's what it's always been called. It's called the Skeena train because it follows the Skeena River, and it's probably Canada's best kept secret and probably one of the most scenic rail journeys we have in Canada. So it travels between Jasper and Prince Rupert with an overnight in a hotel in Prince George. It travels 3 times a week, all year round. It's a daylight only journey, so we always travel only in daylight hours. As I said, you sleep in a hotel in Prince George. It's one of the most scenic rail journeys we have because it's 2 full days in mountain scenery. So from Jasper to Prince George you go through the Rocky Mountains, and then from Prince George to Prince Rupert you have some of the coastal mountain ranges as you go through to the Pacific coast of Prince Rupert. It's a 2-day journey, and the hotel in Prince George is at an additional cost to the train journey, so you always need to remember to book that for your customer. We have 2 classes on board. We have economy class available all year round, which is a seat in a normal carriage with a picture window. And then we have touring class, which is summer only, so usually mid-June to mid-September, and it's normally on average every third departure, but you can find the dates, at least for 2016, online, and 2017 will probably be online in the next month or so. So touring class, you get a seat in what's called the panorama car, which I'll show you a picture of in a minute. It's a 360-degree view carriage, and you also get all your meals included while you're in touring class, while you're on board, including wine with dinner. It's amazing scenery, it's fantastic value for money. The train journey at the minute is running at about £320 per person for the 2 days, not including your hotel. A lot of people use it to connect with the BC ferries in Prince Rupert to go down to Port Hardy on Vancouver Island, or to get a ferry up to Alaska. From Prince Rupert you can go see the grizzly bears at Kutsumateen National Park, and there's lots of other activities that you can do as well. So as I previously said, all your meals are included in touring class, and it's at seat service. And you have access to the panorama car. This is an example of the panorama car. Please excuse me. So you can see the amazing views you get, and you're actually higher up than any other portion of the train, so you do get amazing views. This is the kind of scenery you go through. As you can see, the train is actually quite small. That's an example in when we used to have just a plain dome car, not when we had the panorama car. So occasionally we do add a dome car on as well as the panorama car. This is another view. This is one of the large bridges that the train goes across. And this is another view. As you can see, it's very, very good for autumn colours. This is one of the trains that goes through some extremely small communities. When I spoke about communities as small as 2, this is the train journey that this is relevant for. It's the only way in and out for some of the communities because there are no roads. For a couple of the places on this route, there are it's the only way to be able to get post in and out, so you'll see the post going on and off the train as you arrive. You can, if you arrange in advance, you can stop this train anywhere en route, and you'll see locals getting off literally in the middle of nowhere and walking through the forest to their house, to their cabin, or to go and maybe go hunting. You'll also get commentary as you're on board, and they also will tell you, for example, if they see any wildlife, they'll make an announcement like moose on the right, bear on the left. So they will make sure that everybody sees it if they can. So the corridor services. The corridor services are on the east coast of Canada, and they connect all the major cities on the east coast. So for example, you have Quebec City, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, and you can also do a day trip to Niagara Falls as well. So the corridor service usually has 2 classes. We have economy class, which is available on all of our trains, and we also have business class available on the majority of the trains that your customers will be doing. They are city centre to city centre connections. They are frequent, they are fast, and they're convenient. All of the services run probably 5 or 6 times a day at least. And the quickest you can get from Toronto to Montreal is about 4 hours, but the majority of the journeys are 4.5 to 5 hours. Economy class is a seat in a cabin. They have a trolley where you can purchase food from. Again, reasonable cost, exactly like the Ocean. But most passengers will book business class because the difference between the cost, especially if you get a discounted fare, is fairly minimal. Business class, you get pre-assigned seats. You have access to the business class lounges in Montreal, Toronto and Ottawa. And there's a couple of other stations that also have them. And you also get meals appropriate to the time of day, including wine. So any departure that covers a lunch or a dinner, you will get wine included with your meal. There's usually a choice of 3 or 4 dishes, one of them being vegetarian. If your customer has special requirements on any of our trains, as long as you tell very well in advance, they will try and cater for that customer. They just need to know in advance. You will also get they'll get snacks while they're on board, and there's always the chocolate after the meal, which everyone says you must take because it is extremely nice local chocolate. So you always make sure to tell your customer to get the chocolate at the end of the meal. This is an example of one of the lounges. This is actually the lounge at Toronto. So you can see there's plenty of space for people to enjoy. There's TVs in there, they have newspapers and magazines. There's also separate toilets outside, and there's also tea and coffee and drinks facilities. So you can see there's tea and coffee machines, and there's also 2 massive fridges with juices, and they have Coke and ginger ale, everything that you need. This is an example of a business class seat. So we have various different types of trains for business class, but this is an example of it. So on the left-hand side you have seats for 2, and on the right-hand side you have seats for 1. As you can see, they are quite spaced out, so there is plenty of room. There's very good leg room, and you get to eat your meals at the seat, and there's normally 2 toilets in the business class carriage as well. So that's an example of the meal. So you normally get the main part of the meal. There's normally some kind of salad, and then there'll be a dessert, and occasionally you get a bread roll as well, and then you get either a soft drink or you get wine, or you can have both, and then they come around with tea and coffee at the end of the meal as well. So the last train I want to talk about today is the Winnipeg to Churchill. This is starting to become a lot more of a popular train, and it's one that we're starting to sell more of in the UK, and people are looking to explore a different bit of Canada, so it's always a train to be aware of. If you haven't sold it before, it's always useful to have the information just in case one of your customers does come in and ask about it. So the train travels from Winnipeg up to Churchill and back again. So you can connect with the Canadian, which goes through Winnipeg, and then you can also fly up to Churchill if you want to and get the train back down. That's what we'd suggest for most people, is to fly one way and get the train the other way. It's a long journey. It's not the most spectacular journey, but some people like to say that they've got the train through the tundra and the prairies of Manitoba. So it's a 2-day, 2-night journey. Some people count it as a 3-day journey because it's 2 nights, but you literally only have a few hours each day extra. So we generally say a 2-day, 2-night journey because it's 2 full days on the train. We have economy class and sleeper plus class on board the train, and it's often used to visit the polar bears and beluga whales. So polar bear season is usually the end of October, beginning of November, and the beluga whale season is July. So there are 2 most popular times for this train, and it's when we offer more services on board because it's peak season. It does operate year-round, and it operates twice a week in both directions. So economy class, like all of our economy class, has a spacious reclining seat and has food available to buy. It's unlikely that any of your guests would want to book economy class. It is more for local people, but it is an option if you've got someone on a budget who wants to do this journey, because a lot of the activities you do when you get up to Churchill, for example, are quite expensive. Going to see the polar bears can add a bit more cost onto your customer's journey, so maybe offering them economy class as a way to save is a way to go. Sleeper Plus means you have a bedroom on board. They offer a variety of accommodation, including berths and cabins. So berths are semi-private sleeping areas where in the daytime you have a seat, and at night time it's converted to a bed, and there's a curtain between your bed and the corridor. Most people who travel will probably book a cabin. We have cabins for 1, 2 or 3 on board this train, and the picture you can see in the bottom corner is a cabin for 3. So there's a double seat and then there's a single seat as well. They are larger than the cabins that we have on the Canadian, but they are very similar of how they convert. In Sleeper Plus, we have food included all year round. However, in peak season, which is usually late June to to November, although the dates of exactly which trains are peak season are on the website, we have a chef on board who will cook all of the meals fresh. Out of that time, it's similar to food you'd get on planes. So they still have hot food, but it is pre-prepared, reheated hot food. And then new for this year, we also have one of the park cars on in peak season, which I believe is going to run from the end of June to November. So the park car will have the observation car, so it's somewhere else for your customers to be able to go. So as I said before, you go for polar bears, so you can go to one of the lodges outside Churchill. You can go on one of the tundra buggy tours, or you can go see the beluga whales in July. The reason we have so many beluga whales in July is because they all come in to breed and have their babies in the mouth of the Hudson River. So you can actually go kayaking with them, you can actually swim with them, and they're called the canaries of the sea. So if you sing to them, supposedly they will sing back to you. I've never tried it, and I do know a few people that have actually said that it's true, but I'll leave you and your customers to decide if that is true. This is an example of the scenery that you go through when you go through Manitoba. So you'll go past lakes and forests, you'll go across some of the prairies, and you'll also, once you get past Thompson, there are no roads. So it is mainly tundra. So yet again, it is the way for locals to get in and out. One of my colleagues actually was on board when some of the First Nations people got on board the train, and they were going to a funeral, and they actually brought the coffin on board with them. And it's that kind of story that some of these trains, you can, maybe not that one with the coffin, but some of the stories where you learn about local traditions and local people, and you get to meet locals rather than just being on a tourist train. It is a massive selling point for customers when they're traveling, because they do want to learn about the areas they're going through, and they need to learn a lot more than they're possibly able to get from a guidebook. So when they can meet local people and learn local stories and quirky facts about the area, it is a good way to travel, and it does add a new dimension to their journey. So that's it from me. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me on either of the email addresses on the screen, so nataliesmith@clover-george.com or info@vrl.co.uk. I'm happy to answer any questions. I can also send out we have some old DVDs that we can send out to you, and we can also send out some brochures if you need any brochures. Online we have route guides that you can download, and if you want to email me, I'll happily send you the links for the route guides. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good rest of your day.